Yep. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our community Kuwait, Azure Kuwait. I think there's new faces today. Muhammad first time to attend, right? Manish, I think. Yeah, welcome. Today we will talk about Cosmos DB, but before we're going to or diving into Cosmos DB, we will talk about a little bit about NoSQL and how it started and what it is NoSQL, sorry. First of all, I am Amir Ismail, software engineer for about more than 15 years and a co-founder with my friend Tariq Abu Bakr. He's IT solution architect in KFH, has many certificates. He's a good person. Really, yeah. You don't know. Now, how many of you know about NoSQL or working with NoSQL databases? You, of course, yeah. Mongo, for how many years? One project, yeah. Did you like it? What did you like about NoSQL database? Yeah, right. NoSQL database, it is non-relational database. There is no relation. You can build your relation, but it is not important or not mandatory in NoSQL database. It exists from 60s, long time ago, but actually first time NoSQL term introduced is introduced by someone called Carlos Torres. By the way, it is not a term, it was a database. First time NoSQL term introduced, it was a database engine called NoSQL. It was in 1998. After that, it is increasing using database or NoSQL database, especially in big data. After about 8 years with Hadoop and all family of Hadoop and its own subsidiaries or not subsidiaries, projects, yes, like Couch, Spark, Cassandra, MongoDB, Redis, NuGen. One of the characteristics of NoSQL, there is no columns, no rows, like what we already used to see in relational database, Oracle, or SQL Server. And the main important thing, you're trying to avoid joins in NoSQL database. It is simple when you design your SQL database. It is very simple because there is no constraints. You can design or you can put any data you want in your database. Also, it is easy to horizontal scaling it between your data farms or data servers. You can scale it easily. You don't have a limitation on the mismatch of constraint and relation if we can say we have a master and a detailed records in relational database. It is not important to be exist on NoSQL database. No constraint on data types. If you have a record as ID, you can put that ID as numeric value. Second record, maybe string or whatever you want. So it is flexible. And it is faster than relational database or traditional database. In NoSQL database, we have major 5 4 types for NoSQL. First type, it is graph database. The data in graph databases is represented as node, which is the record itself or the item, and the connection between nodes. It is the relation between nodes. You can use it in recommendation systems and in e-commerce systems. You use it when the relation between items is very important to your application. Example of graph database, we have Neo4j and IPM graph and Titan. Second type is wide column database. Database is represented as columns, not rows and columns. Your data is saved on columns. Each value has a column, a separate column with the ID. For example, here we have product, customer, date, and sale. It is one record for order. But each property is saved in separate column. Physically, maybe it is saved in different disks. I think SQL Server started support column database from 2012 edition or 2014, I think. Still relational, but supports column database. As we mentioned here, it exists in SQL and NoSQL database. It's faster to retrieve data from column database. Using the, you can use it in recommendation engines and fraud detections and catalogs databases or applications like Google Big Table, Cassandra, and HBase. Third type is key value database. Your database is just as key and value. Key and value. Your records are just key and value, nothing else. It is good and simple model. You can use it in session management and caching. We have Aerospike and Redis and Memcache DB. I think the most famous one is Redis, and they used a lot, especially in .NET and web applications, especially for caching. Document database. This is the most famous type in NoSQL databases types. All your objects or entities is represented as JSON document. Of course, we have, all of us knows what is JSON and how it's represented and how it's used, right? The relation can be, if you have a relation between two entities, in JSON you can represent it as a nested document. Like here, we have a person, we have its properties, first name, last name, and addresses, it is a nested object. Based on your design or your business case, you can put that nested application in another or a separate document or collection. You can use it in management and mobile application. The most famous document databases, Cosmos, Mongo, and CouchDB. In AWS, I think it is Dynamo. Yeah, DynamoDB. It is a NoSQL database and also a document database. Here, I am when thinking about NoSQL database. I heard many times, NoSQL means no schema, schemaless. But I think it is somehow wrong in many cases. Especially, at least you have in your document, you have ID or a primary key for your document. It is a common for all documents, right? So we have some schema. So I prefer, personally, may be wrong, I prefer NoSQL is a flexible schema, not no schema at all. This is my personal opinion. You can throw it, no problem. Now come to the main topic of today, our Cosmos DB. What is Cosmos DB? Cosmos DB, it is one of Microsoft Azure services. It is a distributed NoSQL database. It enables you to scale your database very easy, and you can scale your throughput from 1,000 or from 1,000 level or range to millions range in no time. One of strength of Cosmos DB supports all database or NoSQL database types. It supports NoSQL document database, supports key value, supports graph, and also it supports column database. And each type, it has its own API. You can use it from the portal or from SDK to connect and handle your data. Also, it has an API to migrate your data from MongoDB to Cosmos DB. And Gremlin is the API for graph databases. Okay. What is the benefit of Azure Cosmos DB as a business? Why I will use Cosmos DB or select Cosmos DB and neglect other options like Mongo? It is a strong database. It is global distribution. You can easily distribute your database around the world using the infrastructure and data centers of Azure. It is available anytime. You can scale it. You can distribute it to be near to your customers, so the latency time will be reduced. Replication. It is so easy to replicate your data from region to another. Always on. Microsoft guarantee that your data will be available 99.999% of time. This is by default for all Cosmos databases. It is not like other services, Azure services. If you want more availability, you have to pay. No, it is guaranteed for all instances and the same price. You can partitioning it horizontally and using multi-master replication. Multi-master replication, you can write in different regions at the same time. We'll talk about that, how your data will be consistent between partitions across your database. And Microsoft gave us 5 levels of consistency. As we said, it's guaranteed low latency. Cosmos DB give you just less than 10 milliseconds for read and write, which is very fast. Here, your consistency choices. We have strong, bounded stillness, session, consistent prefix, eventually. Strong, when you write any record into your database, it will replicate it directly to your replications. And it will keep your data consistent at all time. Once it's written, it will be available for all customers at any region. To be honest with you, somehow I have some confusing about these levels of consistency. But the most clear for me, it is the first one and the last one. Eventually, Cosmos DB by itself delays the replication till you have a low workload. So when you insert data and you have a very or heavy workload on your database, Cosmos DB by itself will postpone the replication process till you have space to make replication, to not affect your customers or your service. In Cosmos DB, you don't have schema and index management. You don't need to make a schema. You don't need to design a schema for your database. It is like all NoSQL databases, but here it is fully schema agnostic or agnostic. Okay, no downtime. If you migrate from existing database to another, whatever the type of your existing database, your application will be available and not downtime, and Microsoft guarantees that. Cosmos DB by default indexing all records by all properties. If you remember the example of document database, we have a person and its property. So all records will be indexed and by default, and each probability inside the document itself will be indexed. Cosmos DB by default, it is secured and encrypted while transitioning, reading and writing. Your data will be encrypted, and also physically will be saved encrypted. When you use Cosmos DB, you have significant saving in total cost ownership. Why? It is fully managed by Microsoft. What you have to do is just create an Azure Cosmos DB account and create database, and that's it. Write your application and connect. No need to manage and operate complex data centers. It is already on the cloud by default, and it hasn't a client or a local client like MongoDB. It has two versions, right? Has its own. You can install MongoDB in your server or host it on the cloud. I think it's Atlas. Yeah, but in Cosmos DB only on cloud. No deploys, no upgrades. It is platform as a service, so you don't need to bother yourself. We are using the latest version of Cosmos DB or not. No pay for support. It is already supported by Microsoft, and you only pay for your throughput or workloads. No license. Once you have active subscription, you can create your own Azure Cosmos DB account and use it. Okay, no provision for the peak workload. It is already on the cloud, and it's served by data centers, and you can scale your throughput, as we said, from 1,000 range to millions range in no time. Okay, stop talking. Let's go to a small demo. Microsoft provide a trial account for 30 days for Cosmos DB. You don't have to create an account or subscription. You just go to azure.microsoft.com/try/cosmosdb. You can sign in with your Microsoft account, Outlook, or GitHub account, and that's it. Microsoft will create the Azure account for you, or Cosmos account for you, and you can select. Sorry. Yes. The link. Nationality, or can Okay. Here, sometimes your partition key is longer than 100 characters, but all the SDKs don't support that. So be careful when if you're migrating to a Cosmos DB and you will partition your data based on a key exceed that limit. Okay. Add. Sorry? As a partition key. Yeah, it's one property of your keys, of your document. It should be. Okay. Now the container is created. If you click that, you can scale it by changing throughput or request minutes. And here you can add items. Your item actually is just JSON document. Any JSON document you want, you can write it here from not new book. Which item? Yeah. New query. Sorry, not new query. New item. See, by default, Cosmos DB gives you a document with only property ID. ID is the ID of your document. Maybe your primary key is different than ID, but in Cosmos, each document must have ID. If you don't insert a document, or if you inserted a document without ID, Cosmos DB will create it for you. So it is not necessary to add it by yourself. Okay, so we can add user. Sorry. Name. It's not. Okay. And once we click save, this is our document. After saving it, we only added two properties more than ID. Okay. Sorry, I missed that. Here, Cosmos DB mentioned that replace with document ID, but I didn't do that, so it accepted because no schema, no constraint on the data type. In edge number, and it will accept it. It will accept it. Yes, as a string. Okay. Here Cosmos DB by itself will add for every record or every item in your container those properties underscore ID, underscore self, underscore it tag, underscore attachments, underscore TS.
You can give a custom ID, right?
Of course. And if we make that here, now we already created that item. If we change that to that value and click update, it will accept it. Okay. We will explain what is this value and why Cosmos DB inserted it or added it to our document by itself. But now we took an overview how we use Portal to insert, create database, create container, and insert items. Okay, let's back to our presentation. Before going back, do you have any question? right. But to once I tried to learn NoSQL database, it was from few years ago. I tried to learn SQL, MongoDB. I faced a hard time to change my mindset and understand how NoSQL database look like. Yes, yes, but no schema. In your relational database, like SQL database, you have fixed column for each table, right? Maybe values may be null, but still the column exists. Okay, if you want to clean your database, maybe your record has 20 columns, but only 5 or 10 columns already filled, and the remaining is null. So you are wasting your space. In your in NoSQL database, you don't have to insert null values. You can neglect it at all. Yes, it is elastic. Yeah. So do you remember this slide? No, 4 types. All 4 types support that elasticity. But as I told you, in NoSQL, it is the schema is flexible. For example, if we took that as code and we try to create another one, okay. If I try to save that document or that item, it will accept it or not? Yes. So, and no name, and also no age property, right? Yeah, for new property. That's it. But here it will accept. So when you are migrating from existing database or adding new property to your items, it will not stop you. It will accept. This is one of the biggest benefit of a NoSQL database. Okay. Okay. Here, these items is created by Cosmos DB, not inserted by you. Cosmos DB, and it will exist in each document. ID, if it is just a primary key, or can not a primary key actually. It is a unique name identifying your documents. Its data type is string and generated by a system if it doesn't exist in your document. Let's try it again if we want to. Okay, remove this and try test any value. So our database. But which database? Our not collection. Our not our container. Our account. We need to mention or specify which database in our account. So we'll amend that database equal. Let's check its spelling. Yes, Cosmos-DB. By the way, names in Cosmos DB is case sensitive, so be careful about that. Okay, what is the target collection? We already created employees, so collection. What is the partition key? We here need to do it like that. Yes, and this collection throughput, it is your request units. We will mention, or we'll keep it the minimum value for handles, and ID field will be ID. Next, before we can verify our connection. Yes. Yes. If you are using this tool, this is a thought, or you can extract your database as a JSON. And also, I think you need to select file by file also. Okay, now our connection is correct. Next, import. This is a review to confirm your settings. And import. Here, our progress. There's only one item transferred because our query, yes, I selected only one record to transfer it. Why? In our SQL database, we have only 2 records. So I need to show you some another case. So I kept it not migrated, but before migrate the second, we we need to double check our item came from our SQL database. See, it is the same ID. If you remember, if ID is provided, Cosmos will not create it. And e-tag. I want to correct something I said about e-tag. Used for partitioning to identify in which partition your item belongs to. This is wrong. I'm sorry for that. It is used for concurrency. If you have the same document in different application, it is used this value to make the comparison. Okay, here it is migrated with the same property. But what about if we want to make or it changes this, instead of using the same columns, each or every column will be a separate property. If we need to make name a nested document, like name will be object or nested documents for first and last name. How we can do that? Yes, how? Yeah. But it needs some right. You are cheating. Okay. If we try to make a new import, it asks us if we need to reset the settings or reuse it again. We'll say not. Now we'll reuse it. Okay. From here, we will select, for example, ID, comma, first name, like name dot first name. and comma last name name dot last name, and here we will mention